In today's video, we're checking out the Flamma FX150B. The B means we've got a built-in replaceable battery over here. So this will run without the included power supply if you so choose to use it that way. It's really convenient if you want to play live. There is a version without the battery that will save you a few dollars, but overall these are about $100 less expensive than the FX200 I reviewed a little while ago. You're about to hear this in the context of a mix with some custom patches that I made, and then I'll show you the process of making your very own sounds and how I like to use this. A massive thanks to Flamma for sending this out for the video. I really appreciate it. If you want to check this out, I'll link it down below. Here we go. Here's the Flamma FX150B up close. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of how this works. So we get three main buttons across the bottom here, and I'll talk about this in more detail, but essentially this allows you to switch between three different patches in the same bank just at the push of a button. Additionally, it can also double as an effect on and off. You can see the overdrive coming on. We can map this as well, which is fantastic, and I'll showcase that in the video. We also get our expression and volume pedal over here. With the toe down like this, the volume's at full, and we can also mute our signal just by bringing this in the up position. We get a 5-inch touchscreen display, which is also full color, and it's really easy to go in and customize the pedal, either by using the touchscreen or the provided software. Here's the back of the pedal. We get a headphone output, two left and right, or a mono output here if you plan on going into a PA system, mixer, or audio interface that way. We get a full-blown effects loop with a send and return. We can turn this on and off by using the settings on the pedal. We also get our guitar input and our expression pedal too. So if you get an external expression pedal you want to use with this, you can hook it in right here. Over here we have our auxiliary in, so if you want to jam to a backing track via an external audio source, that's the port to use. We get our USB-C port over here, which allows us to connect this to our computer and use the software. It's basically the same sort of software that you would see here, but it's much easier to use than the touchscreen in my opinion. We also get the ability to power the unit with a provided power supply that was in the box, and our power button is on this side. Now this is the B version of the FX150, which comes with a rechargeable battery that we can also replace if it ever fails. I think this is a really great step forward, especially when it comes to anything with a provided battery. Just to cover some of the specs, the Flamma FX150 has 160 unique preloaded effects and amp simulations. We get 180 editable user effect slots, 30 high quality cabinets and amp simulations, a high quality touchscreen. It's a 5-inch display and it feels really good to use. We get high quality preamp models designed for tube emulation, 3 foot switches for complex live setups, and I'll talk more about that later. We get 80 drum machines and 10 metronome variations. We get looping functionality up to just under 60 seconds. The Flamma FX150 and 150B also double as a USB audio interface. We get full-blown configuration over our global EQ settings, and it supports all major I/O setups, which means in and out setups, meaning it will work with just about anything. I'll be using it with my Apple Mac. This video will cover a range of different topics. It will show you how to make your own patches, how to duplicate your own patch and then customize it, as well as go through the tuner, the looper, and also some presets, and everything will be listed down below. What I'm not going to do in this video, because I did it in the FX200 video, is go through all the overdrive, distortions, chorus pedals, all that kind of stuff. If you want to see that, I highly suggest checking out my FX200 video, as I don't want to do the same video, or basically the same video twice. I thought it might be more helpful to show you how to use this to get the most out of it. All right, let's kick things off. I'm gonna show you how I would go about setting up a bank of presets for my particular use case. So it'll give you a good broad overview of how you can set it up for your particular sound. Whether you play clean or dirty, I'm gonna show you how the process works when it comes to this unit. So we get 3 buttons on the unit. These can switch between each of the presets. So I'm on 59A, which is empty. 59B I can switch to by using this button, and C by switching this button. These are all separated just by a push of the button. So a bank is 3 of these, and you can select them just by using these buttons. So nice and simple. And as you can see on screen, everything is empty, which means this is gonna sound pretty bad. It just sounds like a guitar plugged into my audio interface. So we wanna turn an amp on to begin with. I'm gonna choose the 65 Deluxe Reverb. I'm just gonna turn that down the gain a little bit, turn the mid down a little bit, and bring up the treble. Now, if I was to play a chord now, it's gonna sound pretty bad. Woo! We need the cab sim on as well. You always make sure that that's on, otherwise it's going to sound pretty nasty. Now, there's a whole bunch of different ones you can choose from, much like the amplifiers here, but I'm just gonna keep it simple for the moment. This will automatically sound way better. So we've almost got a great clean tone already. There's no reverb or anything, but we're gonna get to that right now. So on screen over here, we can tap the reverb option, go into the reverb option here, turn that on. Now there's plenty of different ones to choose from, spring and all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna choose plate. Plate is my new favorite reverb. I'm gonna turn the level up, decay up to about there. Let's have a listen to this. Sounds pretty great. That is a really nice starting tone. Now, because we're playing clean, I also want to add an effect here. You'll never guess what it is. It's a compressor. Let's have a listen. What a tone. So let's go ahead and save this. Hit the X to get out of it. Hit the save option here. We can call this whatever we like. I'm gonna call this clean. And then we hit OK and it saves. Hit OK, there we go. So this is the clean tone. Now let's say, for example, you want to turn an overdrive on and the compressor off. You can do it. So with the save state the way that it is right now, we can go into this particular menu. So we want to go into the overdrive here. Now what we want to do is select the overdrive after we actually do this. So we'll go to Control, we'll hit Overdrive and Effect, or Effects I should say. So let's try that. So now when I hit this button, it's going to turn on the overdrive on and off here. As you can see, the overdrive came on and the effects went off. So this is really cool. It means we can get our nice clean tone and then switch to an overdrive of our choice. I'm just gonna go the Tube Screamer 808, and why not, right? It's the quintessential blues player overdrive of choice for the last 40 years or so. So that's great, and you can also assign what effects will turn on and off on the same bank by using the same button on the pedal at the touch of a button. So this really opens up a lot of different opportunities if you just want to use a single preset. And with that preset saved, what I'm going to do is go over to the software and we're going to click copy and we're going to paste it into the next one. This is just a great way of replicating your sound and then slightly customizing it for a bit of a different option. So you can go between A, B, and C and incrementally increase the gain or add effects or more delay and more reverb, whatever you want to do. With this particular preset, what I want to do is actually have the overdrive on. So I'm going to turn that off. We're going to turn off the compressor because we don't need it for this one. We're going to go over to the overdrive here, turn this one on. We're going to crank up the gain a little bit more here. Let's do that. And we might just add a little bit more volume as well. I'm also going to go into the reverb here and just turn it up a hair because I like the lead tone with just a little bit more of that, or crunchy rhythm tone, whatever it is you want to add. Then we're going to hit save, and we're going to call this one, I'll just call this one Crunch. I love how responsive this touchscreen is. It feels much better than the last one that I reviewed, which is great. Let's have a look at this. So that's 59B. If we go over to A, we're on that clean tone, right? Go to B, we've got a nice crunchy tone. So we now have two options. We can go back to A, we can hit this button again and turn it to the overdrive sound but with less gain. Now we've got our clean tone. Or we can go to B and it's already set for that higher gain sort of lead tone. It already sounds great, but we're going to go over to C in just a moment as well. So let's copy this one. And you can make these whatever you want, right? I'm just showing you how I would use it. I like consistency in my tones, and I'm going to use the software. So what I'm going to do now is crank up the overdrive, because why not, right? We're going to put it up to 80. That's how we do it. We're also going to add a little bit of delay here. I'm probably going to choose the analog delay just because it's a bit of a favorite of mine. It might be the most boring for some people, but I really dig it. You turn it on and off in the software using this button on the right over here. Now what I'm going to do is turn the feedback down. I've already used this quite a bit, so it doesn't need much. I want 3 and a bit repeats. All right, sounds pretty good. Turn the level back. Yeah, perfect. All right, so let's save this one. Now it's called Crunch, so actually I'm going to just change the name. We can get out of this. We can do it either via the software or via the hardware here. I'm just going to call this one Lead. I'll do it in capitals so it's consistent. All right, there we go. So let's crank up the overdrive a little bit more. We already did that, I think, but we'll just crank it up a little bit more. Push it just a little bit more on the volume as well here. Oh, wrong way. There we go. So let's go through it again. We've got the clean. And for the high gain stuff. Notice the output volume incrementally gets louder as well, which is what I would want. So if I want my big lead sound where I'm really cutting a mix and I'm cutting a track, C would be the way to go. If I want a great crunchy tone, I've got that. And I can also turn on effects on and off if I so choose to assign it, but I'm just going to leave it like this for simplicity. We go back to this one. And I've got my low gain overdrive on A as well. So that's the way I would set it up. I would just set it up as simply as possible, copy over my amp effects into each preset in the bank, so then you can just switch between them and have a very consistent sound and also a very similar feel as well. Sometimes if you're switching between a high gain distortion amplifier and a Fender Clean, it's going to feel very different to play. So in my experience, this would be the easiest way to get going with it. Just set up one clean tone with an overdrive, whatever the case, distortion pedal, and then you can just copy that across and modify it slightly. Let's take a look at some of the presets built into this, starting with 4 lead tones. So these are just stock presets you can use and customize or just use as they are. I think this one might be one of the best. It's 31C Emotional Lead. It's kind of got that Gary Moore vibe. It's a great starting point right there. You can just use that as your lead tone. Now if we go up to 25C, we've got another cool one called Fusion Lead. All right, one's cool. We go, keep going up here. We go to Soloist on 21B. This one sounds like it would suit neck pickup really well. Let's have a listen. All right, let's go over to power lead as well here. It's way too high gain for me, but yeah. Let's go up to severe lead here. Take a listen to this. It's one of those tones that would cut the mix beautifully. Over to neck pickup. I mean, that's great. I mean, even if you've got a lot of expensive amplifiers and pedals, you might not be able to mic it up and get a sound like that. So that's really cool. It's just built directly into this severe lead. I dig it. Now let's go through some really chunky rhythm tones, starting on Combo 30 Drive. Take a listen to this. Let's go to Brit J45 distortion. J900. That's a great tone right there. Let's go over to the M9004. And we'll go over to one more. Let's go down a little bit further. Citrus distortion. So yeah, have a listen to this. It's got that orange kind of sound, high gain tone. It's got a really 3D sound considering it's all coming out of this little unit right here. Now, if you'd like to get a few of those really beautiful ambient style clean tones, 31A and 31B are both beautiful. Take a listen to this. Now to me that sounds beautiful, and the cool thing with this pedal is you can also set it up so the trail doesn't just stop when I change presets. So that's always a good thing as well. We'll talk more about that later, but yeah, it does the clean ambient thing beautifully. To round up the clean tones, I just want to show you three more, starting with 27A. This is Slapback, another stock preset that's very musical. Man, that's beautiful. That's really cool. 14B is called Calibrating. Here we go. It's a great starting point if you're looking for a great clean tone. 02A is called Galaxy 50 Clean. I'm going to turn on and off the modulation, which is chorus. Take a listen to this. Let's take a look at the built-in tuner. So to access the tuner, it says it right here, hold down A and B, and it brings it up. Now, it mutes your signal by default, which is always a good thing. Let's check my tuning. I'm a little out right here. That's what happens when the videos take an hour. So you can check your tuning. The great news is too, you can also see the screen at an angle. So if it's sitting on the desk and you're back a bit, you should still be able to see it fine. I can see it from every angle that I'm looking at it. So that's always a good thing. To exit the tuner, you can either hold these two down or hit the X in the corner and you're back to where you started. Let's take a look at the functionality of the built-in looper and drum machine over here. So if we go to B and C over here, we hold these down, it takes us into the looper mode. We can record and dub something over. So if we want to record, we use the A button. If we want to play back or completely erase what we've done, we can use the B button over here, and the drum machine is on this side. Now, interestingly enough, when I stop the drum loop, just know if you start it again, it won't be back on time unless you press it on time, which is kind of interesting, but just worth pointing out. Now, when it comes down to it, you've got plenty of different options. If you record or playback volume's too loud, you can simply adjust that on screen here. What I normally do with loopers is just start with my volume control on the guitar down and incrementally turn it up until I'm playing lead. And that seems to work really well, and you don't have to fiddle around with the screen. You can also change tones just simply by going into or tapping this option here, and then you can cycle through all the different presets on the pedal. I want to quickly showcase a couple of the advanced parameters over here. So let's hit this button on the right. We can go into System. So we can change the screen brightness. We've also got our input level gain. So if you find your guitar is clipping the front end of this, you can then turn it down and that's where it is. We also get a global EQ. Now, global EQs are very helpful if you're going into a PA system or mixer, or you're listening to it back on a speaker that's different from what you're usually listening to it on. You can just EQ out a little bit of extra tops or bring it back or whatever the case is, depending on the speaker that you're on. Now, you can scroll down pages here just by using this. You can change the middle frequency, high frequencies, as I mentioned. We can also turn on the global cab sim out. So left and right means it's going out of the left and right on the unit as a cab sim, and that's what you want. If you want a dry signal though, you could just simply turn that off and you're good to go. And as you can see here, we've got our delay spillover, which has been off. So if you want to turn that on, it allows you to play a part with a delay pedal, switch patches, and the delay will keep going. It's pretty cool. It won't just hard cut it. So that's always a good thing. Page 5 of 6 looks pretty straightforward. Recording and playback volume and mix volume. And lastly, we can change it between English and I think probably Chinese, looking at that. If you want to fully customize the expression pedal to work as a volume pedal, you can do so. You can have the minimum volume set anywhere you like and the maximum volume set anywhere you like if you don't want to go all the way to 100%. This might be helpful depending on your scenario. We can set up the expression level and we can also calibrate it as well, which is something you need to do to get that to work for wah mode. So just keep that in mind. The minimum is back like this, the maximum is down like that, and the press is all the way down. You got to hard press it down. You'll see that light go off, and then you hit OK. Pedal setting complete and you're good to go. So now that will work as a wah pedal if we set it in the configuration. Let's wrap this video up. I'm gonna give you my final thoughts on the Flamma 150B. Now, one of my biggest complaints about the bigger brother has been addressed with this. The screen doesn't feel loose or feel like it's moving as I touch down on it, which didn't fill me with confidence. The prior version kind of creaked a little bit when I pushed in the corners. This one's fine, and the viewing angles are great as well. I can see it from just about everywhere, as you can see, no doubt looking at it right now. It's very easy to see. Now, to set up your effects, it's nice and simple, and I love the fact that they've thought about the presets a little bit more with this. So you've got 3 that you can choose from. At any one time with these 3 buttons, you can turn effects on and off. You can use the volume or expression pedal over here. We have a drum machine, looper. It has all of the stuff you could need to get going. Now, one of the things I love about the B over the standard is the built-in battery, and it's fully replaceable. If you take a look at the back here, you can see the plate here. This is where you would replace the battery if you ever needed to down the track. Being that this can be used directly into a PA system, mixer, audio interface, or as an audio interface, recording into GarageBand, Cubase, or whatever program you record with, I think you've got yourself a really great way of getting great tones, and they feel great under the fingers. So if you're a fan of a Fender, Marshall, Orange amplifier, whatever the case may be, all of those tones are in here and they're really easy to dial in. While you can go as deep and as crazy as you like with the customizations, I love the fact you can get a great tone by keeping it very simple. Now, I've already reviewed the FX200 and I deep dove into all of the effects in that unit. This is basically the same, so if you want to check that video out, I'll link it up in the cards. I didn't want to sort of retread over the same ground again, so I thought I'd show you how to use it and how to get the most out of it. Thanks again to Flamma for sending this out, and I will catch you on the next video. See ya.